Guess what? We are LIVE. We are alive and live. And today we are starting off with something that I find very, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I'm really happy that Stacey's going to talk about it. Anyone that knows me, type in the chat box what Jessica finds interesting. If you're my Facebook friends, you know it's donuts. Stacey, no, it's Gen Z. Stacey.
Yeah,
Are you Gen Z?
I'm not. No, I'm in the millennial crew. But obviously, Gen Z, I feel like is a super hot topic right now. It's on the lips of everyone. It's definitely part of the conversation for your change, Barcelona change movement for sure.
I'm trying to get Gen Z to come to my conference that's full of millennials.
Okay.
Well, not millennials, mostly Gen X's. So that would be interesting as well, because they don't want to hang out with 50-year-olds. We don't really want to hang out with them, do we? But it needs to happen. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, a workforce is not going to be all Gen Zs, all Gen X, or even baby boomers or millennials. It's got to be a mix to have that equality first of all, but also different ideas come from different life experiences. And so if you have a team that's completely mixed, then learning and how fast you can move in a team environment is way improved, right?
So what is your experience in working with, you wrote a couple of blog articles or newsletters about it. Could you tell me in a few minutes, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on Gen Zs in the workplace and how to have better habits, either when onboarding them, if you want to go in that direction, or just the communication with them or the actual strategy, which you know about.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing, the main thing to think about when thinking about Gen Zs is what makes them kind of special in a way is two things. Is that they were the first generation to be born with the internet, and they were the first generation to graduate in a pandemic.
Oh.
So those two things highlight two very important situations now, which is digital connection and also isolation. So as we've moved from the pandemic into, a lot of companies going into remote and hybrid work environments, which is great. We don't want to give that up. Everybody wants flexibility, and we're hopefully not going to go back, even though some companies are trying. But the Gen Zs are sort of the only generation since the pandemic that are saying, no, we want human connection. Like, we want to connect with people, and they need, it's actually studies have shown that more and more Gen Zs, they really want those human connections and personal connections, because it's going to help them in their career. They know that, but also because they've come out of their university having finished their graduated behind a screen and not done it with their colleagues, and they're coming into the work environment saying, we don't want this anymore. We want connections. So it's definitely important to consider. Yeah.
And we're kind of tired of ever connecting with people at work. We're like, doing it for 15, 20 years. I want to be alone.
I know. I'm in my pajama pants right now, and you didn't know.
It is, young people.
So, I feel like when it comes to onboarding, especially, we have to consider onboarding specifically in like remote and hybrid environments, where making those personal connections in the office are really, really difficult now. I mean, how do you find your tribe if you're not sort of going into the office every single day and like rubbing shoulders or at the water cooler or whatever? Even in my experience managing co-working spaces in Barcelona, like, you see freelancers, people that work on their own, they have their own companies, or they're digital nomads traveling the world. They come to co-working spaces to have those those connections. Like, sitting at home every single day of the week is isolating, and you demotivated, everything. So if you're sat at home being onboarded by a company who are giving you probably a really outdated PDF presentation, and you've got to sit there and probably do 56 assignments to complete your health and safety training to make sure you know how to sit up straight on the, you need to make it more interactive, more interesting. But most importantly, you need to help people connect with your environment, the people that you're going to work with, not just your team, not just your manager, but everyone. So, that's, one of the reasons why, and I will just drop it in there. I don't want to spend the whole time, the conversation talking about it, but that's one of the reasons why I started working with Amira, because they are an AI company culture co-pilot, and that's exactly what they do. They onboard, they streamline onboarding, they, foster community, engage talent, and develop talent as well. And that's what their purpose is. And so it's actually saying, imagine starting on your first day and you fill out a little profile, you say, I like dogs, or I like playing the piano, or whatever it is. And then you do your onboarding and you have your little checklist that you have to go through with, but it tells you, hey, there's 5 other people in your workplace that also love dogs. Do you want to join the community and share your stories about dogs or dog walking or whatever? So little things like that, it springs conversation and it puts you in touch with people. And
that's an app that companies can then use.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot. It works alongside other apps, and it really helps to form that company culture.
Is there a dating thing? I am single, and then you go.
I know. Imagine if we brought dating into the workplace. I wonder how HR would feel about that.
Well, that water cooler and those Christmas parties. Led to love
the ones that happen naturally behind the scenes, and then all of a sudden, we're engaged. They do happen, I suppose.
Well, the kids grew up watching The Office from their parent. Do you know that? It's an American show, The Office.
It started off in England,
Oh, I heard that. So you guys know, and you guys are the
sorry, Ricky Gervais, I do prefer the American one.
Oh, I've never seen, I don't watch too much, but I wonder if they grew up thinking like, oh, it's going to be fun to work with The Office with really annoying people,
Yeah, I know,
At least
right?
there's some interaction, even though they're super weird and annoying.
But it teaches you so much, those different interactions. And I think that's one thing that I was interested to talk to you about as well with your the communication, specialized in communication. Like, how do you bridge those gaps between genders? Because it's those sort of awkward moments or awkward conversations or not being aware of certain generational information that you learn from it, and it makes those office experiences interesting.
Yeah, I think there's that play, like I love my boyfriend, but when I text him or email him, let's say, and I don't get to like look at him, I'm kind of like, whatever, like I'll skip today because I'm in Canada, he's in Barcelona for summertime. And I love this man. I want to spend all my time with this man. But when there's no human to human interaction, even I could give or take him, So I can't, he doesn't speak English, so he won't see this.
He's not even watching right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm doing like 6 interviews today. He's just like, go get her, girl. And I'll be doing my thing. He's given up on watching my stuff. And it's like, if there's no human action, our humanness doesn't even feel motivated. It's a text. I could text a stranger in Texas about cats.
You feel disconnected, I guess.
Yeah, and why even put in? This is, since we both live in Barcelona as foreigners, me from Canada and you from England. There is a certain story it's difficult to make connections with the locals, as it is in every country in the world. If you're not from there, it takes some time for them. But I've heard a rumor that it takes about 6 years until the locals really feel like she's not moving. Now we can form a relationship with her.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's interesting. Why invest in someone that you're not going to have that good feeling with, that you're not going to even see anymore? You're not even going to put the effort in because it's not a human that you know. And trust, since you asked about the communication, trust is built on repetitive actions where you can see that they did what they said they would and that they treated you kindly and fairly. And if you don't have those repeated actions, they're literally strangers, even for 10 years. Right. So it's like, what's going to happen to trust? Communication is going to slow down like crazy. It's going to become more inefficient. We need to get people together based on human psychology, not even on like saving costs or millennials' desires. Right.
100% agree. And like bringing that into the back into the workforce, when you say about, they're not going to stay around for very long. So what's the point in really connecting with them? And right now, there's kind of a trend, because this is another Gen Z thing. They want to progress they want to have rapid career progression. That's kind of what they expect in a workforce. And so there's a trend right now that's job hopping. Like, how do I speed up my my career? Well, it's job hopping. How do I get a higher wage? Well, it's job hopping. But if you're in a company, that's high risk, because the amount that it costs to onboard someone, the time it takes to onboard them, train them, bring them into the community, maybe even get them on board with the whole project, meet the team, it's costly, whether in time or in money. It's also costs a lot of money to bring people up, and even more to lose them, especially in a Spanish company. So how do you build that trust, especially in a remote environment? And how do you make people, you need to build a company culture that nobody wants to leave. You want to build one, you want to build that trust. And so how do you do that? And this is the opportunity for managers and leaders to do really what their job is, which isn't delegating tasks and saying, hey, where are you on your KPIs and all that. It's having more frequent check-ins and building that trust. So, having daily check-ins are how are you doing today? How is it? I think the topic of the conversation was, Gen Zs that come and tell you you're in therapy. Is it a strength? Well, I believe it is, because, we don't want to lose the motivation of our colleagues. We don't to them feeling completely detached from the workforce or from so it's good that they're telling you, hey, actually, the workload's quite intense for me at the moment. I'm feeling a bit alone. But having a manager that builds that trust, where you feel you can tell them that, well, that will make them feel more connected to work, make them feel more connected to you as a manager, and hopefully make them stay longer in the company.
So we got a comment from Deborah, who's watching. She was 5 minutes ago. Deborah, are you there? And she was talking to a couple of Gen Zs earlier last week, and she just mentioned how hard it is for the newbies to understand the company culture. Because if you don't see it, you can just read about it, right? In the PDF that you guys send. And so it's interesting, how can you even adapt to it or know what the expectations are? I had hi, Deborah. I had 3 interns from the United States, and their expectations of what they wanted from me, well, I asked them on the very first day. And they're like, yeah, 1 day a week, I want to see you. The rest, I don't mind being at home. 1 hour a week, I want to be with you. I'm like, you flew all the way to Barcelona to learn something from me and me to get something from you, and you only want to see me an hour a week? I almost cried. And that's what they expected from my company culture of one solo professional speaker. And I had that with them, and I forced them actually to stay a little longer because I knew it'd be good for both of us. If you can't see it, how do you know how to adapt? And how do you know if it's okay? One of them asked me, am I supposed to mention that I go to therapy, or am I supposed to express emotions with you? Am I allowed to say a bad word once in a while? You say bad words. Am I allowed to say bad words? And I had to be like, I think I'm allowed to say bad words, and I think you are too, but I don't have my own defined culture. So if they don't see it, they can really make mistakes, but who are they going to ask? How embarrassing to ask those questions to, and who are you supposed to ask? If they had a buddy, a good old
buddies are really important in the onboarding process. Exactly. But I think what a lot of companies do, and it's very is known for, especially in big companies, they put these company values that you just can't, how can you say, yes, that's my company value, is my personal value? You don't connect with it. And that comes into the recruitment side of it as well. When you're hiring, you ask somebody, how do you feel? How do you resonate with these values that we have? And what values do you have? What are your personal values? And you want to hire somebody that kind of also already from the start are aligning with those values, so that they can understand them. But also maybe that's part of the change movement as well, that companies need to adjust a little bit their values to be more promises to people. We promise to always listen. We promise to always act on what's needed, or things like that. Not just about these big words that symbolize the whole company value. It's something that it's an interchange.
Because values workshops, I'm a trainer, so I've been to tons of them. I've done tons of them, and they're just words, right? It's I value honesty. And then you're like, okay, well, honesty in this case at work would be blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, ooh, no, that's not quite how it works here. Like, how are these guys supposed to know until they see the repercussions of
Yeah.
the public shaming that person got in the office? And then they know, okay, that's not acceptable here.
That's where training comes in as well, like personal development, how to communicate the truth as well. You can be honest, but there is always a better way of communicating it, right? And choosing the time, the appropriate moment. And that's all in personal development. And that's things that companies can offer as well.
See, so for me, I'm like, well, that's the job of the parents, you know? I'm like boomer here. It's a lot of things I'm like, we will always, I feel bad for the companies actually, because as an employer, there's a lot of demands on, if I was a boomer, I imagine, right? And like, it used to be top down, everyone, I'm pretending to be an old white American man. Everyone used to do what I said. Nobody complained. And if you weren't sick, you came to work. And
most of those men had midlife crisis and ended up in hospital with heart failure.
Yeah, without knowing why.
Without knowing why.
Yeah. So the shifts for those guys, I don't have a lot of empathy for them per se, but it's like, where are my values need to be aligned? Like the expectations of what the young people want at work, is it even possible to do? What companies do you know that are like, Gen Zs are like, I'm awesome, the boomers are happy? Like, are there case studies in, I don't know, like the HR L&D world on that? Who's doing
there's
well?
loads of studies out there. You know, Forbes share them. I read a lot from Harvard Business School, Forbes. There's lots of specific HR studies as well. But they're saying, you know, a lot of these younger companies that don't have micromanagement, they check in, they have 360 feedback. You know, they trust their teams to get the job done, and they're not sort of like, you know, that micromanagement. Have you done this? Have you done that? This is how you do it. And they are thriving, and they are having, their retention is high, and they are retaining their team. So it is working.
Okay. So then the simple solution would be, we take the best practices from them as they're in Forbes magazine, and the HR people copy it. Done. Wouldn't that solve
I think, you know, I think it's two main points is, you know, company culture needs to encompass human connection, open listening, and you know, fluid communication, transparency, and, you know, onboarding needs to be about making a lasting first impression and, you know, fostering those human connections. I think those, if companies sort of focus on those things and see their people as an ROI, because they are as well, you know, then, you know, it's only leading to success in remote and hybrid environments.
Deborah suggested having social kind of connection times.
Absolutely.
You know, video calls at the beginning. Yeah.
Meetups if it's possible. I mean, you may be spread completely globally and no way to connect, but, you know, phone calls, do silly little videos, or, you know, little online game escape rooms or anything, you know, it's just kind of ways to connect.
Ways to connect. I like that. How to connect. My company is called howtobeyou.com. And because I'm a therapist, I'm like helping you what ChatGPT can't do, how to be you. And so I'm just thinking, based on how much we've literally said the word connect here, it's like how to connect at work, because I do that kind of training, and I never thought of calling it that. I thought it's like team building or onboarding process. Like I thought about like a real name, but if the human need is connection, we can call it what it is. It's not embarrassing that humans want to be with other humans, right? Sometimes we feel needy, right?
We are part of a community. That's how we were brought to this world, being, you know, thriving on community. So
okay. Oh, Deborah's very active. She says, oh, connection.
Deborah.
Deborah wants connection for distributed teams. She writes very long. Deborah, if you wrote shorter paragraphs, I would be able to read properly, Missy Moo. Well, we are at the end. I'm taking away connection. The young people are bringing back that element. They're bringing back vulnerability. It's hard for the old dudes, but too bad for them.
They're our future, so.
What's that?
I said the new ones, so they're our future, so we got to listen, right?
Yeah, you don't listen to the future. Yeah. Beautiful. I hopeful and practical, I think. Yeah, you hopeful?
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. Are you hopeful? I hope I'm hopeful.
I'm hopefully hopeful.
Oh, the word plays. Great. Well, Stacey, thank you. And thank you for telling us about the app. What's the name again?
Amira.
Amira. It's a beautiful name as well.
Yes. It actually means community in Hindu.
Yeah. I felt like, I had a feeling of that word. Great. Well, that was a quick and fast with Gen Z, the way they like it, but we're slowing it down with connection with Stacey over in the UK. Well, play a song for us, Stacey.
Oh dear. You didn't tell me that one. It's got to be one of the Beatles. For sure.
That'll be one of the bloopers. Thanks for joining the Change Days podcast. Thank you for telling me about how we can change the Gen Z. We have about 5 more interviews today, so if you have nothing to do, you can join us. And the rest of you, maybe see you in Barcelona, October 25th to 27th, on how to shift different relationships, different vices, different behaviors in your life with experts from around Europe and just recently from Singapore. We have a world famous voice coach coming over, Cynthia. So it's getting exciting. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.